I'm not someone that speaks with Klal at different occasions, other than in my little baladamis. But I have a weakness, and the weakness is the SIYUM HARAMBAM. For some reason, because at your formidable years, when you're younger, things have a lasting impression on us. And when the Rebbe came out with the takon of Limud HaRambam, I was a young child of Tafshin Mem Dalet. I was 11 years old, or 10 and a half years old. Ashur Kazeh, I was a young boy. And I was living in Miami. I think that was the first Pesach in many years that we weren't by the Rebbe. My parents had traveled to Russia for Purim. With Ezra Sachim, left us alone. We thought they're never coming back. Go to Russia. Who comes back in those days? And then we ended up staying for Pesach in Miami, Tafshin Mem Dalet. Then after Pesach, after Achon Pesach, we heard all about the Rebbe's Takana. There was a tremendous excitement. I was a little kid. Rambam. There was no, things weren't getting faxed at the time. We didn't know the basic Seder. And of course, as a kid, I was going to learn one Pedic of Rambam. I mean, who's going to learn 3 Prakim of Rambam? So we get the message that on that Sunday, we're going to start learning the Hakdom of the Rambam. So my father, sat down with me and my brother, who's about a year younger than me. We have to learn the Hakdom of the Rambam. So we sat down, and he learned with us. We had no idea that if you're learning one Pedic, you're supposed to split the Hakdom into 3 days. We didn't know. So we learned the whole Hakdom of the Rambam. The way the Shir didn't make it to us, or the one Pedic by the Shir. We, by mistake, so to speak, learned the whole Hakdom of the Rambam. And the next day we learned the Mitzvah Saseh, the Mitzvah Saseh. By the time we got finished already those few days, we found out that we're ahead. It was on the tongue. We already started. So my father continued learning with us 3 Prakim Rambam every single day. Believe it or not. We were little kids, 10 and 11 years old. And every single day we learned B'chavrusa. In the mornings, I used to go with my father sometimes. He was going to Chassidus then in Yeshiva 7 o'clock in the morning. We would get in the car earlier than to go to school. And we would go learn the Rambam 3 Prakim. Some other kids heard, they would call me up, when is your father learning Rambam? Some of my chaverim, and they would join us to learn Rambam every single day. I remember even before I went to camp in the summer, my father asked a bocher, believe it or not, that he should learn with me and my brother. It was then Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh in the middle of the summer of the first year of Tafshin Mem Dalet, I still remember, to learn with us Rambam every single day. So I have this, this hergish and this regish that when it comes to the Limud Rambam, the SIYUM HARAMBAM, for someone in my age who was young, it's like part of my childhood growing up, learning Rambam. I can't say that I never missed the Rambam, that I will not say. I'm sure I did miss, I know I missed. But nevertheless, since then, Ba'if Kloli, I've been learning Rambam. And I'm standing here and I want to express HaKodesh HaToiv to my father, who actually, I can't imagine that I would be able to do that with my children every single day to learn 3 Prakim Rambam. And the funny thing is, a lot of the Rambam that I remember is actually from those Shiurim B'chavrusa that I learned then with my father. And it's a tremendous HaKodesh HaToiv that I have. So I'm standing here today, I have a weakness. So Mela will speak a little bit about the Gewaldigkeit and the Moedigkeit of being able to fulfill and study the Rebbe's Takon of learning Rambam. I just also remember at one point, just reminding myself as a child, we were learning, I don't remember, it was already Hilchos, it was Deis at some point, and I got frustrated, learned the whole Rambam. Who could finish the Rambam? I mean, it was only a year. I was a little kid. He looks ahead for a year. Sachakal, I was a few years old. So I remember something that my father told me then as a kid, and I still use it when I learn with Bachrim. He said, why are you looking ahead? Just look back. Look at the amount of pages that you learned already until now. And I looked, hey, we're turning pages. This is a Moed Dikazah. We're able to learn Rambam and continue learning Rambam. And then when we finish the Rambam, to start again learning Rambam, to give us Nacham Alachayas to learn Rambam. And that itself, the path, the Obad, gives us the push for the Hoive and also for the Osid. My father reminded me once, we were speaking about the Rambam, that he remembered that Tishrei afterwards, so we were by the Rebbe for Tishrei. So everyone sits by the benches to wait for the Rebbe's Fabrengen, Tafshin Mem Dalet. So my father was sitting at 770 with me and my brother, which was sitting with the Rambam, and learning Rambam with us. And he told me that people walking around like, who's this crazy person learning with his 10-year-old kids Rambam? And people in 770 were all speaking. As Shapiro, Miami, is learning Rambam 3 Prakim with his kids. So I didn't realize at the time that it was a big deal. So Baruch Hashem, I can say at my age, nevertheless, we've been learning Rambam the whole time. And of course, as was mentioned before, the tremendous koch, as Bachrim later we made sure to try to learn the Rambam before the Rebbe's Fabrengen on Shabbos, because we wanted to be able to remember and know a little bit which halacha the Rebbe was going to speak and what the Rebbe was going to say. Some chassidim came actually with a Rambam by the Fabrengen. I remember Meshach Runner used to open the Rambam, the Rebbe was giving a shir, and the Rebbe would say the halacha. He used to open the sefer and take a look. But this was all part of the tremendous koch and chayis that we had as young bochrim and then growing up with the limud Rambam. The Rebbe made the big shturim about the SIYUM Rambam. And can I know Baruch Hashem, a beautiful crowd here. I don't know if everyone learns Rambam, but certainly this is a time for chizuk. We have a SIYUM every single year. Why do you have to have a SIYUM every time you finish? Because the SIYUM is meant to give us tremendous chizuk. The SIYUM is meant to encourage us to continue. Sometimes it's difficult. That SIYUM, the getting together, the Isha Se'eyu Ya'azayru, encourages us to continue the study of Rambam. I just want to share with you a small episode that I myself saw that just stayed with me. I mentioned this a number of times. I somehow picked up as a bachir that on Sukkot, after the Rebbe would give the lulav and esrik to the Meir Hargis to be able to be mezakeh everybody with the bracha, so he used to slip away a few minutes later. So I once followed him. Where's he going? He gave the lulav and esrik to someone else. So I followed him. Where'd he go? He used to go to the Rebbe's sukkah, and he knocked on the door, and he would slip into the sukkah. He would go, and he had a chazakah. He was mesada the Rebbe's mezenis, and whatever the Rebbe drank of tea in the morning, after the Rebbe ben Shlulav, and the Rebbe would stay in the sukkah, and whatever, he came at 9 o'clock on Chol Hamoed, 8 o'clock on Yom Tov, till closer to davening, and then the Rebbe would come back into 770. That was his chazakah. But nobody was there. When they built the sukkah on the other side, it was like an empty. So I realized I have a massive situation that I could peek in to the Rebbe's sukkah. I didn't want the Rebbe to see me, so I used to go to the door of 770, and I would open the door a little bit, and I had a clear, straight view into the Rebbe's sukkah. Young Klein, Allah Shalom, once saw me, Shapiro, cooking, none of your business. Anyways, so I was there once, and I remember it was raining, and the mayor knocked on the door, and he opened the sukkah, and he walked in, and I remember this, the Rebbe was standing with his hat jacket, standing in the rain, it was drizzling, holding a Rambam like this. It's a tremendous tziyut that stays with me till today. And the Rebbe was standing and shuckling like this, learning the Shia Rambam. That stayed with me. But the Rebbe, that was a tremendous thing. The Rebbe learned Rambam. But we all know this. The Rebbe went to the oil holding the Rambam, came back from the oil holding the Rambam. And therefore, the Rebbe gave into the Chassidim this tremendous chus to be able to learn the Rambam. Just as side encouragement, and it's not really necessary, but there are a number of stories of people that have sipurim. I know personally 1 or 2 people that had some issues. And when they started to learn Rambam properly, one of my chaverim told me, I'm learning Rambam now for a week, be'iyun, starting at 4 or 5, 6 in the morning, whenever it was, he had a kriyas and learning Rambam. Many and a few of his tzaras and issues, I wouldn't call them tzaras, but issues that he had cleared up. We had in Morristown, Rabbi Yossi Lu from Atlanta spoke. He said just a story, an interesting Medic story with the Rambam. He said he was in 770 when it was a few years ago to Rav Mincha, and a young man comes over to him. Doesn't you're Yossi Lu from Atlanta? I'll tell you, I have a problem, but I'm seeing you now, and I think I have the solution. Came once to yeshiva where I was learning many years ago, and you shturim about the Rambam. I was a bacher in yeshiva, so I took it very serious, and I started to make a shturim with Rambam, and I made a whole nifsa in yeshiva. Rambam. And gosh, it went for many years. I got married, and I went into business, and Baruch Hashem, I was stark matzliach. But recently, even I've got the tzoris. I went to the oil, he tells Yossi 2 weeks ago, and he made the heart some of them. Help me, what's the story? And I feel, I hear so many stories, people going to the oil, they have Nisim and Moivsim, Epis garnish. I walked in now to 770, he tells him, and I see you, and I reminded myself, I stopped learning Rambam. That's for sure the solution. Thank you very much. I think you got me my solution to my problem. Sure. A few weeks later, he was by Chassan in Florida, and he bumps into this young man. He tells him, you should know, for 3 weeks now, I'm learning Rambam, and my business is booming. I don't know what the biur is. I can't tell you what the biur is, but it's Bodukum Nusa. B'neisuf to the fact that we're miskasher with the Rebbe, it's Bodukum Nusa that Limud Harambam literally has the power. Why? I don't know. It has the power to change our lives. It has the power to change our personal lives, and it certainly has the power to change the lives of our families. Our children are watching us. Our wives are watching us. Our chaverim are watching us. Everybody knows if we're learning Rambam. Everybody knows if we're taking this plunge, so to speak, for some of us, to jump in and learn Rambam, for some. And Bashgacha Pratis, this SIYUM Rambam or Haschalos Rambam is on Beis Yir. Beis Yir is l'chatchila haribah. It's a message for some of us to learn Rambam is takin and oifen of l'chatchila haribah. Sometimes you feel I have no time and it's impossible. How can I do it? Believe me when I tell you that when I was a kid of 10 years old, it seemed like climbing mountains to learn 3 Parakim Rambam. Literally like climbing mountains. In the beginning, it was exciting, but then we had to be pushed. My father had to push us. And again, tremendous HaKadosh Hatoy. And we continued, and we went, and we went. Now it's like part of your life. This has a tremendous, tremendous effect on every single one of us. And it's very important that we remember that. In addition, there's a side benefit to learning Rambam. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it's a fact. You should become a Talmud Chacham, believe it or not. It's a tremendous side benefit when you learn Chitas, you know Tanya, you know Chumash, you know Chumash Rashi. Rebbe was once mitzayin on a sikha. It's a sikha printed in Chelik Yud Lekut Sikhs. I heard this from my father. It's famous. Where the Rebbe talks about the pasuk that Yehuda married Bas Ish Knani Ushma Yeshua. So Rashi brings the Knani Pirushei Tagor, who was a businessman, and Rashi brings the pasuk from Nach. So in the sikha, when they were mitzayin, they weren't mitzayin to Rashi and Chumash, but they were mitzayin to the pasuk in Nach. You're mitzayin to the original source. So the Rebbe wrote, none of you who are writing the sikhs, you don't learn chitas, and the Rebbe was mitzayin to the pasuk and the Rashi in chitas, where Rashi's mitzayin is. Of course, you learn chitas and no chumash Rashi. Oh, but so when that Talmud Chacham, and by the Rebbe in the sikhs, if you'll take a look, Rabbi Sikha, on this week's parsha about Adlokas Neides Shabbos, the Rebbe kocht sich about Talmidei Chachamim, Rogil ben Neir, Havil and Bon and Talmidei Chachamim, Chasonim Talmidei Chachamim, the schar of Neir, as it brings the Rebbe in the Sikhs. It's a side benefit of Limud Rambam. So Poshet Zayin Talmid Chacham. There's no greater nachas that the Rebbe has when his Chassidim are Talmidei Chachamim Kipshutai. To be able to discuss Torah with any yid on any topic without knowing it, so gruntig, with all the Rishonim and the Achreinim. But the basics of almost every din and every halacha, eventually you become klor, you become bahavant, you become comfortable. That's dafke through Limud Rambam. Through Chalukas Hashas, learn one Masechta. If you learn other masloilim of Gemara, it takes many years until you finish Kol HaTorah Kula. But the Rambam, when you continue learning it again and again, you kipshute become a Talmid Chacham. I was once heckled by a big mashpia when I said this. I told him that you're mentioning that when you learn the Rambam, you become a Talmid Chacham. That's bichlal atofel shebetofel to the ikir of Inyan of Limud Rambam, which is his kashrus to the Rebbe. Okay, you got me. That's the truth. It might be a tofel, the tofel to the Inyan his kashrus. And the truth of the matter is, the Rebbe points this out like Rabbi Chanukah. The Rebbe says the Rabbi Chanukah, how you talking that in Alanisim, we don't mention anything of the Nes of Pach HaShemen. Famous sikh of the Rebbe. The Rebbe's masbid that when you have the Nes of Pach HaShemen, nothing else can be mixed in. So if you're going to have an Alanisim to talk about the Nitzochin of the Milchome of the Yidden, Rabbin, B'yad Ma'atim, you can't mention the Nes of the Pach HaShemen. The Meile, Amerek V'Niskashlos, you can't mention anything else. Afile, so Zayin HaTalmid Chacham. But I think a chelik of his kashrus is also to Zayin HaTalmid Chacham. The Rebbe wants every one of us to be a Talmid Chacham, no matter what we do. And I'll tell you something even more. It's very easy for me to speak about this because in the position that I do for a living, I get paid to learn. Believe it or not, they pay me to learn. They pay me to be involved in Torah. So ich stoke Chachma, so do a Rov, und a Rosh Yeshiva, oder a Mashpia, was a Talmid Chacham. That's not a kunst. That's not where you see the koyach of our chassidim. That's not where we see our koyach. We see our koyach when a younger man, a balabos, that does other things for a living, for whatever it may be. A shliach that's mekarav yidden, that's not specifically paid to study Torah. learns, and as a Talmud Chochem, there's no greater nachas that the Rebbe has from them. And when we learn the Rambam, that's a side that we can benefit, that we're able to accomplish, to be able to push it, emesdik be Talmid Chacham. Sometimes, some of us, the truth is, might feel, not only it's too hard and too difficult, we do a lot of difficult things in our lives. We always end up at a proshas drachim. Should I do this? Should I do that? And we usually take a leap and jump into something that we don't feel that we're always ready for. Be it with our personal family, be it with our parnosa, with many, many different things. However, when it comes to Yonim from Kedusha, many times the Yetzer Hara comes and says, this, not because it's hard. I know who I am. I know the truth. Ich weiß, wo ich halt. This is not for me. It's bluff. The fact that I can go ahead and I learn Rambam 3 prakim every day, that's for the Chiddushim Geleit, for the Chiddushim mentioned. It's really not for me. That's not something that I can do. That's a typical taina from the Yetzer Hara. It also reminds us all of the famous story with the Chassid and Tzemach Tzedek, that he was a businessman. He probably wore a tuxedo and a bow tie. When he used to come to the Rebbe, he put on a Chassidish levush. One time he decided, he's bluffing. He's not going to bluff the Rebbe anymore. So he came to the Rebbe in a tuxedo and a bow tie. So he said, "My hi." So he was machlet, he's bluffing. I'm not going to bluff the Rebbe. So he said, "Oh, you nicht gemeint hat dort bluffst du." I thought that the bluff is over there and there is the Rike. But nevertheless, this is sometimes a problem. One of the sikhs, the Rebbe is masbid about the Rambam, one of the Hadronim. The Rebbe talks about the pasuk that the Rambam begins 2 days ago, Sunday's Rambam, Ozloi Eivesh Ba'aviti Al Kol Mitzvah Sechot. The Rebbe goes into a whole arichis, but the point is, the pasuk is, Ozloi Eivesh, when am I not going to be ashamed? Ba'aviti Al Kol Mitzvah Sechot. When I learn Kol Mitzvah Sechot, Dafke Kol HaTeira Kula, Dafke Kol HaTeira Kula, which is koilo the halachas, even that I'm not legeya because I'm not learning it for myself. I'm the famous learning the Shema. That is ozloi eivish. That has a whole arichas gishmak amid the computer in the hadin of Tovshim Nefgov. But I want to point out one nekuda of this. The Rebbe is teaching us with this sikhe based on this Rambam. And the Rambam starts ozloi eivish ba'aviti al kol mitzvah sechot. You're uncomfortable. You feel as a pasnish. You're self-conscious about yourself, that who am I to be the one to learn Rambam? Ich weiß, ich kenn sich. It's not for me. You have busha. No. If you start to be b'habiti al kol mitzvah sechel, to sitzen and lernen kol HaTeira Kula from the Rambam, you will become comfortable with yourself. You will have that self-confidence that, yes, this is for me. You will be comfortable in your own skin. You're not going to be looking 2 sides, one over here, what's up there, what's up there, as if and I'm doing things that are beyond what I think I'm capable for or of. There's the typical taina from the Yetzer Hara. Zok the Rambam Ozloi Eivoish. If you don't want to have any bushes on yourself, to look at yourself with a low self-esteem and inyonim ruchnim, is ba'habiti el kol mitzvah sechot. If you start to learn the Rambam and learn Kol HaTeira Kula, you will see, you will automatically be a changed person. You will automatically be someone that's comfortable in saying, yeah, ich learn Rambam. And automatically, of course, mitzvah geredes mitzvah. You'll learn more. There's a famous story, they say, the Misnagdim say it about the Yisrael Salante, the Chassidim say it about the Rebbe Marash. The Teichen is the same story. The Tamol Gefrek or the Yisrael Marash. I only have an hour of day to learn. What should I learn? Musar or Chassidus? Or should I learn a block Gemara? So the Rebbe Marash answered, so let's learn Amay Chassidus for an hour. Yisrael Salante said, learn an hour Musar. Not because it's more important than a block Gemara. I just learn in an hour of Chassidus, you'll find time to learn the block Gemara. Because you'll realize the great Kedushas HaTeira, of Chachmaser, the Tzedek Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that will automatically change us and make us find the time to do other and more important things in Torah as well. More important than the things that we sometimes tend to waste our time on. When we make a SIYUM of the Rambam, we always know Maskifin SIYUM LaSchola, like we do on Simchas Torah. So I want to share with you a famous book, but I think it's also important, and it also helps us understand the Chlal making a SIYUM and connect it to the SIYUM of Rambam. A famous book from the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Yitzchak Reb Leivik, has a book on the SIYUM and the Haskalah of Torah. Torah finishes La'inei Kol Yisrael. Torah begins with Bereshis Bara Likim. You take the last letter of La'inei Kol Yisrael and the first letter of Bereshis Bara Likim, and you have Leiv. And the truth is, Leiv is first. Why? Because we finish the Torah and we right away make a U-turn and we go to the base. From the Lamed, we go straight to the base. So although we're going Misiyum L'Haschola, automatically if you make that turn, it's the Leiv. Because Torah is about the Leiv. Torah is about Avos Yisrael. Torah is Rachmana Libavoy. And the truth is, we have Avos Yisrael, we have to remember, the Iker Avos Yisrael starts with our own family, with our own Chaverim. The biggest Avos Yisrael that we can have to our own mishpachas is if we take a sefer and we sit and learn Chok V'lo Yavod. And that is the Rambam. The tremendous Avos Yisrael that does between us and our wives and our children. We don't even realize it. Sometimes we're not going to see it for years. What the children will remember how their father used to take out a Rambam and sit and learn Rambam. And I try my best, not always, to learn Rambam at home. I have time sometimes in yeshiva to learn Rambam, in shul to learn Rambam. I do sometimes. But I make a point, my Rambam is around. My little kids from when they're 3-4 years old, they know what the Mifal Rambam looks like. They know what it's called because it's my Rambam. Please pass me the Rambam. Give me the Rambam. I make sure that in my house, they see that I'm learning Rambam. Not because I want them to look at me learning Rambam. I have Avos Yisrael. I want them to know that this is a Shtuv U'Malent Rambam, that it should be something expected, something normal. It's not a Chidush. But this is their Leiv, their hearts in the Kudah. And the Rebbe's father continues like Yishmak Vort. He says the Leiv also, if you flip it, becomes Beis, Bereshis, and Lamed is Baal. Baal means not, don't. Baal, he says, don't turn your minus smoil. If you take the letters before the Aleph and before the Lamed, it's Ach. If you take the letters after the Aleph and after the Lamed, is Gam. The pshat is when we study Torah and we learn Torah and the halachas, we have to remember, Baal, don't turn Yamin, don't turn Smoil. Yamin is Ach, Mi'utim, Chas v'Sholem, Lo Sigra. You can't take away any mitzvah from the Torah. If you go the other way, it's Gam L'Rabbis. Also not. And this I heard from the Rebbe myself by Fabrengen many times, that you have to have a Michse, Mizerem U'Mimotor. It has to be a protection from Zerem and Motor. Zerem is Reish Mem Zayin, mitzvah less. Motor is Reish Mem Tes, a mitzvah more. I think it's also a word from the Rebbe's father that I heard myself from the Rebbe a number of times in my years, that we have to be careful, Baal, we have to be on the right path, do exactly what the Eibishter wants. Nishvinsikin unishmerer. Then we have the proper leif. And then we're able to give ourselves over properly to what the Rebbe wants from us and what the Eibishter wants from us. Today, nowadays, and this is something we can actually say about any chelik and any seder and limud Torah, there's really no excuse. I had to come to New York once for a simcha. I read it's schwer for me to drive, so I asked Bochrim if they're going, if they could take me. So there was one Bocher that was in yeshiva. Was an oile al daiti that he's a bocher that learns Rambam. It's a Balabatish bocher, comes from Balabatish family. I have to admit, it's a mistake that I made. I get into the car. Shigmeit is going to put on music. Get into the car, he's driving to New York, and he puts on one of the shurim. I think it was Rabbi Resnick has a shir Rambam, or Rabbi Gordon, I don't remember. He puts on the The whole way there, the whole way back, he learned through Drai, Prokim, Rambam. And I was astounded because I was chesed him, Chas v'sholom. He's a bocher that Bechal doesn't learn Rambam. And I realized there's no excuse today. You get into the car, put on the Rambam. Shoy. The Grace of Mashpim will have a kled if you're Yetzer Rambam by listening in the car. I myself remember once by Fabrengen, we had a discussion in Yeshiva if you have to say Rambam, not say Rambam. I remember by Fabrengen, the Rebbe talked about him with the Rambam, and he said, and he added, that's what the Rebbe used the Lashon by Fabrengen. So there was a bocher who I was having a discussion with. We locked eyes during the Fabrengen, the minute that I said, I'm not getting into if you have to say the words. Don't have to say the words. But the bottom line is to learn the Rambam. Today it's extremely easy. When you get into the car and you sit and you can listen to the Shir and Rambam and the Shir and Chitas. I'm standing here today with all of us together to celebrate the SIYUM Rambam, to give us chizuk with the Hascholas Rambam, and to continue to learn Rambam, to become Poshet every single day connected to the Rebbe, with the side benefit of becoming a Talmid Chacham, with the side benefit of it changing us, with the side benefit of it giving us Hatzlocha many times, in all these situations and all these cases. And it's for me a great chus to be here with you, and I want to give everyone the chizuk that we should be able to ultimately see Hashem. And if you go with the Mahalich of Rabbi right away making a U-turn, right? Right away to Yisoid HaYisoid is V'amud HaChochmes, which is Yidiyas Hashem, it's the same thing. So you right away, Kamayim Layom Echasim, we're going to be completely full with what? With Yisoid HaYisoid is V'amud HaChochmes, not just Leda, but we're actually going to know Kipshut Mamish, Sheyesh Motzei Rishon, Bebias Mashiach Tzidkenu, Yishkoyim.